All right, everyone, we are here with a very special guest. We have Grayson from Love Island, USA on the show. Grayson, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How are you
Grayson,
feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I'm sad to not be in Fiji anymore, but I'm happy to be back into the real world with my family and friends and stuff. So it's definitely been a crazy past couple of days for sure.
Grayson, we're seeing a lot of the Islanders who have left the villa, like talking all over social media. They're doing TikTok lives, they're on Instagram, they're doing AMAs. I feel like we haven't seen you talking about things as much. What has it been like getting your phone back and kind of adjusting back to that normal life, besides being with your friends and family, having your phone?
Honestly, it's been insane. So actually, when I was in Fiji, my phone was completely broken. So I didn't even get a phone back until I got back into the States. So I was like chomping at the bit to get back online. But also before Love Island, I wasn't super active on social media to begin with. I really was just like a normal girl. It's definitely been like an adjustment because it's been so amazing getting so many messages from people and just hearing that people want to know more about me because, maybe I wasn't on the show as much as I'm learning now that I thought. So people are just curious, like to hear me talk and like to get to know my personality. So I want to be able to do that. So I've been trying to make the adjustment of like getting online and showing myself more online. So I'm getting there. But it's been really helpful to be around like the other Islanders because they're all so good at it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
absolutely.
sense.
I think, oh, like you said, where people are messaging you, like, we want to get to know you more. Even I had that feeling while watching the show. I was like, wait, who's Grayson? Because I feel like there's so much going on, and we wanted to know more of you and your connection with Pepe. And you did come back from Casa Amor, coupled up with Pepe, and we saw how that unfolded. And unfortunately, you guys kind of went your separate ways right
Mhm.
before that vote had happened. Can we get a little inside look into your connection with Pepe, how it felt from your end, and if you really saw it going somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. So honestly, it's so funny when you're in there. There was 20 of us in there at a time, and everybody is having their own individual journey. So you feel like a main character when you're in there. And so coming out of it, it was like I was surprised at how much I felt involved in the villa, but then I was like, I can't believe that maybe it wasn't shown on TV, which honestly is completely fine. But my connection with Pepe, I really do feel like it wasn't shown much. And I haven't really watched all the episodes yet, but honestly, I think me and Pepe had a really good connection. It was slow to start, and I was pretty vocal about that in Casa. I noticed that he was going through something. Obviously, he had just, had his connection with Hannah dumped from the island, and um, I could tell right away that he was, trying to open up. And I wasn't sure about it the first like day or two of Casa. And I actually was getting to know the other guys. It might not seem like it, but I had pulled Nic for a chat the night that I got there. And then the next day, TJ and Austin had both pulled me for a chat. And I was just getting to know them as well. But as, it started to near the end of Casa, I started to really connect with Pepe. And yeah, I personally felt a spark. So I didn't really want to ignore that. And I think he just needed time to kind of heal from it and like bounce back. And then following the days of Casa, I just felt like we were spending, as much time together as possible. We were always together. And it was a good connection. Like I'm happy that we were together. I know that it didn't end up working out. And towards the end, honestly, it was kind of a shocker for me the way that it ended so abruptly. But I do think Pepe is a good guy. I think that he was just struggling with trying to, get over his past connection, try to connect with me. And then obviously we're seeing now that maybe there was something there with Iris. So I think that he was juggling a lot. And it's just kind of unfortunate the way that it all played out.
Mhm.
Yeah, you said you were surprised at kind of how it all ended. Were there any signs that you were picking up from Pepe, or was it kind of just like that abrupt moment where he sort of was like, ended it and it felt like it happened out of the blue for us.
Yeah. Honestly, I remember when all the girls got back after Casa and, they had kind of started mentioning to me, like in the dressing room and stuff, how close he was with Hannah. I think for some reason when I was watching the show, maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to their connection. Because honestly, going in, Pepe was not like my first choice, nor really I think he was like second or third. He just wasn't really on my radar. And so maybe I didn't pay attention as much as I should have. But I remember when they started mentioning that, I was like, okay, maybe this is something I need to worry about. And we had a couple conversations about it, but he kind of was like assuring me that he was processing through it and he really wanted to focus on getting to know me. So I think every time I would raise a doubt or a concern or I would feel some sort of like red flag, it was hard because I felt like I kept maybe getting like reassurance or validation from other Islanders. No, like, he's obviously like smitten with you sort of thing. And I had even raised it a couple times to other people. Like, do you guys think that there's something off with Pepe? Like, should I be concerned? And I just felt like I kept getting, no, like, you guys are obviously really good. And obviously it wasn't shown much on camera, but we were like affectionate and we did spend a lot of time together. I think I was there for 7-8 days. But yeah, I did have concerns and I did voice that, but it still felt like real enough that I kind of was willing to see where it would go. And yeah, so that's kind of where I was with it.
With saying that Pepe was not initially on your radar, like going in and to Casa and seeing it, what was it about Pepe that made him jump up that list for you?
So when I went in, I was like all about Nic. Like I was like, I think Nic is so cute. I think he's funny. I think that we would really like mesh well. So going into that challenge, I knew I was gonna pick Nic to couple up with. But after the initial kissing challenge, and I went first, which was like terrifying. But after the initial kissing challenge, he kept rating everybody tens. Like he just seemed like such a gentleman. And honestly, Pepe was not like somebody that I thought was my type. But then when I saw him, I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll take that one.
And him rating everybody tens as opposed to TJ, who gave everybody awful scores. And you guys, you're getting up there. It's a scary challenge to just start kissing these guys you don't even know. They can't even see you. What was that feeling like, honestly, in that moment? Because even Ariana, as the host, was like, what's up with this guy and his rating for the kisses?
I know. I think that TJ had no idea that it was new girls. So like he wasn't afraid to be like really critical with the ratings because he didn't realize that how nervous like we were and that like it was our first time like in the villa. I think if he would have known, he would have been a little kinder about it. But yeah, and honestly, I was interested in TJ when I initially went in, but after hearing him like talk like that, I was like, oh my God, like no, I don't. And then hearing like the complete opposite where Pepe was giving everybody tens and he was like, everybody's doing like, I don't know. I was like, he just seems so sweet, like a gentleman. Like I wanted to go that direction. But TJ is honestly a really sweet guy. I did get to know him a little bit like in Casa. So yeah, I that was like really I did have a conversation with TJ that I think did get aired where I was like, you dogged my kiss. But he really didn't mean it, I don't think.
Yeah, I think we saw recently he was like, I was just waiting, putting everybody low scores so that when Iris came around, I can give her a high score until I realized Iris was not there. It was all new girls. It was Casa. But, coming into Casa has to be a scary feeling, especially this season. It was done differently than ever done before. How did you feel about that? Did you know the previous way that they did it? And were you happy with this change up because it gave everybody a chance to actually make it back into the villa?
Yeah, I was actually terrified to go in for Casa. When I was flown to Fiji, I fully thought that I was like a bombshell. And I remember, them starting to mention Casa and I got so nervous. Like I was like, I felt like I had so many interviews where they knew, who I was, and I just didn't know that I fit in Casa because I'd seen previous seasons and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to be aggressive enough to like make it in Casa. You know what I mean? So I was so nervous. And then they, told me it's going to be different from any other year. And when we got there and they said everybody is going to possibly have the opportunity to come back, I was just like, I have to lean into this. And all of it was out of my comfort zone. Like I can't even describe how nervous I was. But and on it, I genuinely was like, maybe I can't do this. Like maybe I can't go in for Casa. And I had to really think like long and hard about doing it. But I was there. I was like, I want to have this experience. And I'm glad I did. But it's definitely really daunting. And I think it did feel really different from previous seasons, which was really nice.
Yeah. Was it like disappointing to you emotionally? Like what was going through your mind when you found out you were going to be sent in through Casa? Like I can't, because I know you don't really fully know how you're going to be on the show. So when you heard it is going to be Casa, what did you think?
If I'm being real, like my first reaction was like a little bit of like disappointment because I just felt like I just wanted to have the fullest experience possible because honestly, it sounds so corny, but I really wanted to make a connection there. I had seen last season, I saw so many couples come out of it and they're still together. Like that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I thought that wouldn't be possible coming in for Casa. I don't think that we've seen like much success from past seasons of like girls coming in from Casa or guys and making it, out of the villa. I don't think we see that very often. And I think it's because Casa is so late in the game. So I was initially disappointed because I was like, I'm watching like the time tick by, my experience in the villa get shorter and shorter. And I'm like, I wanted to just have as much time as possible to make a real connection because you have to have that time. So yeah, there was like a wave of disappointment, but also there are so many people that are dying to be in the villa. And I had to just kind of take a step back and like realize I have to be like, I have to be grateful for this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so lucky to be here because like I said, I really was just like a normal girl. And I don't know what it was that I did or said that got me into the villa, genuinely. So I just had to kind of put it into perspective that there's so many people that would take my place. And I'm meant to be here for a reason. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to lean into this experience and I'm going to just be myself. And if that gets me where I want to be, then that's all I can ask for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's not corny at all to say that you wanted to find a real connection. I think as viewers, that's what we're hoping for to see from you guys. And this season, people have been a little bit frustrated because we were like, we want real connections. So to hear from you that you were genuinely looking for that is actually refreshing to hear and happy to hear that, it was so different, Casa, and especially the setup where we saw Nic and Olandria got sent home, but then they were saved and you guys found out that they came back as a couple. What was that feeling like seeing them walk back in? And also you initially being interested in Nic, were you thinking about maybe pursuing that any further when you saw him come back in?
When Nic left, so I had obviously some conversations with Nic. The first night I had pulled him for a chat, and he told me that if I wouldn't have pulled him, he would have pulled me. So I think there was like some mutual interest there. But in our conversation, it was good, but it was super friendly. And it just didn't feel the same in like conversations that I was having with Pepe. It felt a lot more like romantic between me and Pepe. So I just kind of like was like, maybe this isn't going to go anywhere. And then when he was leaving, he was kind of giving his goodbye speech to all of us. And then he mentioned Sierra and he was like, just tell Sierra. And he started crying, like he started tearing up. And that's when I was like, this guy, I don't know that, I don't know that he's open. Like, I was like, I don't think this is something that I want to pursue because I could see that he had like an emotional connection with Sierra. So yeah. I was happy to see him come back because I wanted him to like keep getting to know Sierra and keep pursuing that. But I knew that one was not going to be for me.
Seeing that emotion from him then and knowing kind of how things have played out now, how do you feel about what's going on currently with Nic and Olandria? Do you think that those two could actually maybe have something?
I'm not sure. I think that, seeing their relationship, I think that they've tried. And if there's a spark between them, that's amazing. I think it's kind of hard for me to see that coming to fruition because I think that they've been there from the very beginning. So I think they've had a lot of time to explore that. But maybe with Sierra being out of the picture, that kind of gives them like the space to be able to really explore it. So if they feel romantic with each other, I think that that's amazing. I don't know that I necessarily saw, although I will say during like kissing challenges and stuff, like they would go in. So
That is true.
they would go in. So honestly, I hope that they are genuine and like actually try to dive in and really give it a shot instead of just, maintaining like a friendship. I really hope that they actually try.
Yeah.
So that's all I can say about that. But
Yeah.
they look cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you said you were there for 7 to 8 days or however long it was. What was the vibe with the OG Villa girls? Because we've seen in the past seasons, past Islanders talk about how it can be a little weird when the Casa
Mhm.
girls come in and you guys all mesh together and you know that they're trying to be with your man and it's a whole thing. But at the end of the day, you're all there for the same reason, to find connections. How did you feel like you meshed with the girls?
I got to know a lot of the girls. I felt like I got really close with Iris, which was really nice. And I got to know Amaya really well. She was like so welcoming. I have nothing but amazing things to say about Amaya and Iris. Like they immediately were trying to make me feel welcome in the villa, which is so great. As for like the OG girls, I think that they're really nice, but let's be honest, they had been there from the very beginning. They had like a really close, tight bond and they confide in each other, they share in each other. That's going to be hard no matter what. Like when you come into it's like being the new girl in the classroom, those people have known each other since they were kids. So I did get to know them and I feel like we'll be friends outside of the villa for sure. But I think with the amount of time that we're there, it's really hard to like connect really closely. And they were going through a lot of drama.
Right.
So they were really leaning on each other at the time. But I'm really happy that I had Clark and Jaden. Like I really feel like they'll be my friends for the rest of my life. And we got really, really close. So it was nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think there's just a natural gravitation. You see it when you watch in the mornings of the girls going to have their chats and their catch-ups, and we watched more of you with Clark and Jaden, and kind of the girls like naturally have their own groups. Did it feel like groups? Does that make sense? Like, does it feel like you were like, okay, we have our group, they have their group, we all get along, but like it's groups?
A little clicky.
I think that's just to be expected.
Yeah.
Like I think when you have 10 girls, we're not all 10 gonna sit in a circle and like start sharing our deepest, darkest secrets. Like that's just how it goes. So yeah, of course there was a little bit of like grouping going on. But I think that if there were less girls, then maybe everybody would start to lean on each other. But I think through Casa, it was just such a dramatic time. Like tensions were really high. Nobody knew who was going home and who was staying and who was building a connection and who wasn't. So I think everybody just started to really lean on like the people they felt closest to. And that's probably why in the show, it just seems like there's kind of a divide going on just because I feel like that's only natural.
Yeah. Yeah.
At one point, there were so many people in the villa. It seemed like more than we had ever seen before. It felt like the show was starting over. So that would make sense. I do have to ask you, though, was it cold at night? People are wondering about the red velvet turtleneck dress. They want to know, were you cold?
That was my most controversial look. I've been seeing everywhere. People have a lot to say about that look. It was freezing, guys. Like, it was so cold. Everybody was actually saying how jealous they were of me. We had to like bundle in towels and stuff. It was freezing at night. Some nights weren't as bad as others, but that night in particular was so cold. But that's not even why I wore it. I mean, I brought that thing to Fiji not thinking it was going to be hotter than. So like,
you were
let's be
like,
real.
I'm Christmas ready.
That's right. Yeah.
It's winter in Fiji.
It is winter in Fiji. And it was a bodysuit, actually. Like it went like it was like a whole feather situation. Yeah, everybody's saying it looks like Christmas, but you know what? I thought it was so cool. So if you want it to be memorable, it's got to be crazy. And I'm a big girl for statement pieces. So
yeah. And when you walk out of that villa and the worst thing you could have done in people's eyes is wore that outfit, you know,
I know
it's a win.
I know. Honestly, I feel like I feel so lucky and blessed to come out. Like I felt like, you know, of course everybody has something to say. There's still things out there. Like there's going to be a hater no matter what. But I just feel, and partially it's probably because I just didn't get as much airtime as others, but to feel like unscathed is just such a sigh of relief. Because we have no idea the way that we're going to be portrayed, and I had no idea. We don't know how much we're being shown.
Right.
To our knowledge, we think everything is being shown. You know what I mean? So I just had no idea how people were going to react. And obviously towards the end, there was like a little bit of controversy going on, like with, you know, the whole Pepe and I situation. And I was like, I don't know how people are going to take, you know, me being vocal at the fire pit and our conversation, because they only show just little snippets, of course. So I came out, and of course there are people that are like, you know, you had no right to be that way. And then there are people who are like, I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. So
yeah.
I feel honestly really lucky.
No, you absolutely should. And I think especially when it is kind of the elimination, the way that it went with just a mass amount of people kind of leaving. And it's so hard because when they put up those kinds of numbers and they say only one person can stay, that's so tough. What were you thinking during that elimination? You know, everyone's standing up there. They're making people stand behind you. What was going through your head during that elimination?
I think you can see it in my face that I was definitely frustrated. Because, you know, I felt like I was taking a lot of punches that day. From what was happening with Pepe. So obviously we had the postcard challenge the night before. And that just completely altered the way that I was feeling about Pepe. I was like, I don't feel secure about this. I don't feel good about this anymore. And it started to already get me like, you know, panicking a little bit, because I was like, I didn't realize this is the way he felt. And then the next day, obviously Pepe and I having the conversation that, you know, this doesn't need to go any farther. And then that night, getting told that only one person's going to be saved, I was like, just vote.
Yeah.
Just vote. Because I was like, this must be my time. The way it all just panned out, it did feel like I was taking a lot of punches, but I was still trying to be grateful. And then honestly, to see Pepe not stand behind me too, I was just like, this must be my time.
Was any part of you thinking Pepe would stand behind you, or did you kind of know he wasn't gonna?
No, I fully thought he would, honestly. I think that there was always a chance of me, because we had ended it. You know, I was like, he might not, but he knew I was there for the right reasons. That's kind of something that he had reiterated to me over and over again through the past week. He was like, I love that you're here, like, for the right reasons, and that you're genuinely here to make a connection. And that's why, like, I'm really exploring you. So since he knew that, I thought just in support of me, he would stand behind me. And also, I think it was no surprise that Taylor was going to be the one that was saved. So I felt like he knew maybe his vote wasn't going to matter. So I was like, just support me.
Yeah. For like a principle.
Yeah, but he didn't. So that was upsetting, but it is what it is. I mean, it's not completely surprising.
Yeah. In a vote like that, does it kind of go unsaid with the newer Islanders when there's a vote? It's like, all right, well, the OG is going to be the one that's protected. Like, does everyone think that?
There's just no way. Yeah. There's just no way. I think that especially with TJ and Taylor standing up there, who were really like feeling very secure in their connections, me and Jaden, I think we were just like, they're there's no way we're going to have enough people that want to stand behind us. And in the grand scheme of things, you would think that with it being Love Island, I almost was like, I wish this was looked at from an angle of like, who do you want to get to know? Like, who do you want to stay to explore, sort of thing? Because I feel like that's something that we should all be thinking about, because that's what we're there to do. But I understand like wanting to save your friend and keep somebody there to continue their connection. But yeah, Jade and I looked at each other in that moment. We were like, yeah, it's over for us.
Yeah, I think that's where the disadvantage of coming in for Casa can be, because things do factor like friendship. Although it is Love Island, everyone jokes about Friendship Island. This isn't Friendship Island, but those things come into play when it comes to the Islanders saving other people. Right now, we are headed towards the end of the season. We're almost at 4 couples. One more couple is going to get sent home. With the current connections and couples going on, who do you think is the strongest couple, and who do you think is the least?
I would say the least would probably be Nic and Olandria, in my opinion, just because I think that I don't know romantically if that's something that they would continue. I always try to think what's going to happen after the villa. So I think when I look at the couples, that's kind of the one that I don't think is going to continue after the villa. So that's why I would say that. But for the most, I know that Shelly and Ace are getting a lot of heat, is what I've been told. But honestly, they've been together from the very beginning. They've done everything they can to explore each other. They look secure. And when I was in the villa seeing them in person, honestly, they really do seem very fond of each other. Like, they're always with each other. They're always affectionate. So I think that they would be the strongest couple and the most likely to continue after the villa. So other than that, Amaya and Brian are really fresh, and I think it would be really cool to see like such a new connection be able to win. And I think they look really cute together, and Amaya seems really happy, and honestly Brian does too. So I'd be really happy to see them win.
Did the Iris and Pepe pairing surprise you?
No.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't surprise me. I was really close with Iris, and I always felt like they acted like they were like brother and sister, like best friends. You know what I mean? They're always there for each other. Whenever they're to confide in somebody, they're to confide in each other. They're bombshells together, so they feel really close. And I always kind of maybe thought like it could be more than that. So that did not surprise me. And I knew that with TJ leaving, she was really going to need to have somebody that was there for her. And I remember walking out with my suitcase and seeing like Iris just, crying into Pepe's arms. And I was like, yeah, I think that that's going to happen.
Were you surprised that Iris didn't try to leave with TJ at that point?
Honestly, no. And I feel like I would have been upset with her if she did, because things move so fast in there. But, Iris and TJ, they weren't together during Casa. So, and they were only together for a day before Casa. So really they had only had a couple days together. Right. And that's not to discount their connection. Like, I think they had a really strong connection, but I think Iris would have been doing herself a disservice to leave and not explore anything else, because she had not had the opportunity to really have a good connection other than TJ. So I would have been upset if she left. So I don't blame her for not going.
Yeah, I think that's a great outlook. I'm assuming from that answer, you won't be holding any hard feelings towards Iris coupling up with Pepe and, wanting to be friends outside the villa.
Oh, of course not. I'm actually really excited to see her outside the villa. And if they continue their relationship, I'll be really happy for them. They both live in LA. They seem like a good match. I absolutely have no bad blood. I really love Iris. So I hope that wouldn't be weird at all. I think everybody is dating each other in there. So
yeah, I feel like it's good to get inside info from somebody who was actually there, because we see things move so fast. You say it moves fast in there. We see things move so fast on the screen, where although there are a ton of people who are rooting for Iris and Pepe, there are also people who are like, wait, what? This just happened so fast. But to hear you say you're not surprised by it, and that they were having a lot of moments, even friendship can always turn into something else. So that's always nice to hear.
Yeah. And Yeah, honestly, if anybody was going to leave, I thought maybe Pepe would, because he just had said that there was, when we had our conversation, he basically told me there was no one there for him. He was like, I just don't see myself forming a connection with anybody here. And you were kind of the only person that I saw that being possible with, and I don't feel a spark, you know. I'm like, okay. But so I thought maybe in that moment he would be like, okay, I have nothing else to do here.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to walk away from that experience, being in there, especially with only like a week left. I don't blame him for not.
Yeah. Did everybody kind of have a feeling of how much time was left? Like
we could sense it was nearing the end, for sure. I think that the challenge where, you know, the 5 of us were dumped, we were like, I think there's only like a week left. Like we could sense it, you know. But we never knew the time, we never knew the day, so we weren't completely sure, but it felt like it was nearing the end, especially with the way like the connections were going to. We were like, yeah, I can't see more bombshells being brought in. Like it seems like we're getting to the finish line.
Yeah, so I think at that point everyone's like, we're here to stay, you know, make it to the end, try to make it to the finale, but we have to wrap up. Grayson, thank you so much for chatting with us. I know you'll look back and be like, short and sweet. It was a great time for you on the show. And I think hopefully now everyone will be able to get to know you more on social. You'll start sharing more and everyone will get to
I'm gonna
have
try.
those. Yeah. I mean, the time is now, Grayson, you know, like,
yes.
That's what everybody keeps telling me. I was actually with like a bunch of the Islanders last night. We were all hanging out, and I know they were like, Grayson, you got to get on this. The time is now, and people want it
now. Yeah,
nobody got to know you in there. You know, nobody got to see you, which still like baffles me, because I just felt like I had so much like love and close friendships with Clark and Iris and Amaya and Jaden, and like I couldn't believe that those things weren't shown, because I think we really connect with friendships. You know, seeing that on and even with Pepe and I. So you know, if people want to get to know me more, then I want to be able to share, but I'm trying my best, guys.
Yes. You got it.
Everybody follow Grayson. Just posting more.
Thank you so much, Grayson.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.